want to talk a little bit about what happened in the last 4 months of this campaign. And as you can see, we had a lot of students that really put their hearts into this campaign, and they're continuing to help out, because their role went further than just carrying that torch. That they've become what we're calling our student ambassadors for each one of those communities. But I wanted to tell you a little story on some of the things that happened since October the 1st in St. John's to Mississauga. While we were in the province of Newfoundland, there was a election going on, a provincial election, and Premier Williams had, during the time, had won as becoming again the Premier of Newfoundland. And we had the opportunity to sit down with Premier Williams, and he already witnessed for himself, because we did get a lot of media coverage in Newfoundland. He witnessed himself what these students, what our campaign was doing, and he made organ and tissue donation one of his top issues for his new government. Besides all the other people that we reached, the public and the media in Newfoundland, our job was also to continue reaching the 3 levels of government. And then as we went throughout the rest of the maritime provinces, we were doing the same. In Nova Scotia, we had a chance to go to the legislative building in Halifax, and we were hosted by Maureen McDonald, and I have to tell you this story because the torch champion for Halifax was a 14-year-old girl named Courtney Greencorn, and Courtney wanted to go even further than becoming the student torch champion and carrying the torch. She actually wanted to donate one of her kidneys because she heard somebody in her community wanted or needed a kidney transplant. And it wasn't just a thought that a young 14-year-old had. She went further than just thinking about it. She actually convinced all of us, because of her passion, to go to the Halifax legislation, or the Nova Scotian legislation, and she gave the most passionate plea at the legislation that I've ever heard a 14-year-old say. She knew that she was too young to donate her kidney, and the legal age is 18, but she urged the government to change the law from 18 to 16. And you know, whether that happens or not, I think isn't really the point here. But to hear a 14-year-old girl that wants to do something like that, it moved all of us. It inspired actually the entire Maritimes, and I was getting some calls from Toronto media as well about what this young girl was doing. And then as we ventured into Prince Edward Island, again, we met with the Premier, and what we found out in Prince Edward Island is that there is no retrieval center there, and people that wanted to donate their organs in Prince Edward Island had to rely on Halifax and Moncton to come in and retrieve the organs. And after listening to the people in Prince Edward Island, they were all mentioning that there was a great need for a retrieval center in Charlottetown. And when we went to the province house in Charlottetown, we met with the Premier, and we sat down with the Premier and urged him to create a retrieval center in Charlottetown. And again, he made this as one of the top issues of the day, and they're presently working on that. And this was because of the efforts of the students that gave us the information. You know, they went over and beyond carrying the torch. And then as well as New Brunswick. Again, we met with the government of New Brunswick, and throughout the whole province of New Brunswick, we were meeting with the media, with the public, and what we managed to do in the Maritimes, they have a health minister meeting, I think, twice a year, and organ and tissue donation was never on the agenda in their health meetings, and now it is. Through the efforts of all the kids that took part in their roles in the Maritimes, this was done. And when we ventured into Quebec, and we made our stop in Quebec City, the students in Quebec were doing things like creating websites for organ donations, so that the whole province, they can reach every school throughout the whole province of Quebec to make the students understand the importance of this issue. And that was actually the Rivière du Loup student. And combined with the Quebec city student champions, we assembled a great event at the National Assembly in Quebec City, where we managed to get all three leaders of the three parties there to greet these students, but not only that, have them together there to understand that this issue needed to be at one of the top priorities in Quebec. And it was confirmed by all three leaders of the province of Quebec, you know. And then that takes us to Montreal, where we heard previously about the sad news of a 2-year-old girl named Zoe Bernard, who was desperately waiting for a heart transplant in St. Justine's Hospital in Montreal. And when we heard about that, the students carried the torch for Zoe in Montreal, and it was minus 40-degree weather. And I have to give Mayor Tremblay 2 thumbs up for taking such a vital role in Montreal. And I pretty much, as we left the province of Quebec, they were, the whole province knew of our campaign because of the media coverage we got there, and you know, we're still getting so many emails and so many, we're keeping in touch with so many of the students. And then that took us to Ontario, where at Parliament Hill in Ottawa, we did the same thing. We got members from the 3 parties to meet the students at Parliament Hill. Again, at a federal level, to show that organ and tissue donation needed more priority. And again, it was through these students that inspired the members to come and take an active role. And so as we were finishing the first half of the torch, we were arriving in Toronto last week, actually, where we had the opportunity to meet the Premier of Ontario, to greet the Toronto Student Torch Champion, Veniece, Lindsay from Westview Central Secondary School. And that event was so memorable, seeing all those kids walking from Jane and Finch all the way down to Queen's Park. It was just such a memorable event. And then having the Premier greet us. And earlier on, by the way, we met with the Lieutenant